Oh, hello, hello, or should it be goodbye, goodbye? Because welcome to the podcast. But as the big news for Villa over the last 24 hours, of course, is the sacking of Dean Smith. We're going to be talking all about it. We're going to touch on the game against Southampton as well. But the big news has been the departure of Smith, and we will be talking about that and everything else after this. Okay, so after a fifth consecutive loss in a row to Southampton on the weekend and another poor performance, the owners pulled the trigger, and unfortunately for Dean Smith, he is no longer the coach of Aston Villa. Tommy, I'm going to turn to you first because you were Nostradamus on this one. You called it about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and even though you were right, I'm sure you're not thrilled about it, as we all
No,
are.
absolutely not. I just said it for a laugh. But honestly, after that Wolves performance, I just said it for a joke. Little did I know we'd go on this kind of consecutive run of 5 losses, and it hasn't been enjoyable. There's been some great memories with Dean Smith. We feel that he really brought the energy back to Villa at Villa Park. Plenty of amazing memories. But I think the things that stood out in the end, which is ultimately what, Edens and Sawiris made the decision on, was I think the subs were always a bit too late, did know his best starting 11, probably had a bit of an injury crisis. Sometimes it makes us look back, think, how many times did maybe Jack Grealish bail us out of jail? Were we maybe a one-man band at the time, and it was just shadowed by a lot of other things? Because, we made some great signings in the summer, and I just don't think we've seen the team gel yet. We pinned it down to a lack of preseason, but how many games are we into the season now? And we just don't think we know where our best 11 are. But yeah, it's a sad time. We're all starting to love Smith, and honestly, there's a few fickle fans. I put that post up for a laugh, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of fickle fans that were calling for his head. And although we criticised him at times, we all really wanted him at the helm for quite some time, and he was building something great with the club. I think a couple of years ago we were relegation scrappers, though we just got promoted, and then we had a great season last year. Started really well this year, and I think the Wolves game was just the catalyst of a ripple effect of negative events, unfortunately. And it's a results-based business. Then 5 consecutive losses, ultimately saw him get the axe, which was a massive shock to all of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we all agree that he was a great guy. He did a great job. But from personally, last couple of weeks, I'd sort of, made up my mind that if it happened, it was going to happen. And I was okay with it just because, we obviously do have owners that are, got big ideas. And Smith was the perfect choice, when he was brought in 3 years ago. He did a great job, but I always sort of felt like it was probably going to get to this day that we maybe outgrew him or he couldn't take us any further. But saying all that, it's so bittersweet because yes, we've been awful. We've been playing badly. We've been losing. We've been atrocious. But the job that he's done and the whole time he's been here, yeah, it does feel kind of harsh. But Noah, you met the guy. I know that you're pretty upset. So how would you like to do? Talk about Smith's time at Villa.
Well, yeah, as you said, I met him 2 years ago now, and just down to earth guy. Obviously,
yeah,
I think that's something they're trying to build at Villa, just getting a bunch of really nice guys in. I mean, you look at the people we brought in, like Dean Smith himself, Richard O'Kelly, all like really nice people. Unfortunately, have now all gone. It'd be interesting to see if Austin McPhee and all like Neil Cullen, if they all stay. Who knows what's going to happen with those guys? All I know is Shakespeare and Smith have unfortunately have gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think it's just this season alone. I think 2021 we've got the most losses in the Premier League with 18 in the whole calendar year.
Yeah.
Which obviously isn't good enough for where we want to be heading. So I think it had to be done, and the international break's probably the best possible time to do it. If they get a new guy in soon, and he has 2 weeks to get to know the guys that are there anyway, and go from there.
Yeah, my hope is that the owners do have their heads screwed on and they've got a plan in place. And because if we're going to bring in, I don't know, let's say a Sam Allardyce, or someone of that nature, I know that's probably not going to happen. But let's say it's someone like that, like
That's
someone.
not.
Yeah, that's then then it's the wrong decision in my mind. But if they do have a excellent candidate that who would be a good choice, then so be it. Troy, your thoughts on the sacking?
Well, we were saying, last week, are we at the stage with the owners where they're thinking about getting rid of him? Are we at the stage where they have contacted someone to say, would you be interested? Or are they at the stage where somebody is ready to walk in the door? They know the squad on paper, they know their best tactics on paper, and they're ready to step in. The new owners have shown us nothing since they've walked in the door that says that they are not prepared, that says they're not at the very, very peak of their powers, and professionalism. So would I be surprised if a new manager is announced tomorrow? No, I wouldn't. The hope is that they've got somebody impressive, and I don't think it's a case of being impressive just for the sake of getting quality. And I think they've got to impress the fans. I think they realise that Dean Smith has, we were saying off air, has injected a pride into the club that previous managers just haven't done. He's never said a bad word about us. He's done the right thing. He got us up. He kept us up. Unfortunately, hit a glass ceiling. I love the guy. It's a shame he hit that ceiling, but he did. With all the technology that we're bringing into the club, the fact that we've got the best of everything, we've taken on a set piece coach with the lady with a beard. And was Dean Smith the man to take us into Europe and blaze a new trail, to come up with some new ideas and new tactics? Unfortunately not. I don't know whether it was just the case that he reached his limit, or whether a couple of losses just put so much pressure on him. He'll look back on this in years to come and go, what on earth was I thinking? Under no pressure, he wouldn't have made those kind of decisions, but he did, and he's paying for them.
Well, I think that I think with Smith, I think in some ways it's good for his legacy that this has happened now, and we haven't dragged it out for months and months and got to a stage where we were relegated under Smith, and everyone turned against him. I know, that might sound harsh to people that still want him in, but he's going to be remembered as a great Villa manager that did a fantastic job. And I think from that point of view, it's a good thing that he's gone now, and we can sort of just move on, and he can be remembered as a Villa legend, because we all remember what it was like, before, when we were in the Premier League and we had guys like Lambert and Sherwood and Remy Gard and this. I mean, it's a lot better right now than it was then. Then, Villa Park was, 3/4 full. People weren't really caring. There wasn't that same sort of connection between the club and the fans as there is now. And so I'm glad that he can look back at his time and, be considered a good manager for us. I guess we should quickly touch on the Southampton game because we haven't talked about it yet. We went into the game with a few changes. Ramsey was back in, wasn't he? Or
he was on the bench.
No, because he did his ankle, didn't he? Or no. Oh yeah, he came back in. That's right.
He's on the bench.
I was surprised to see him back in. I thought he'd been for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a shock, but we went in with the same sort of formation, similar sort of team, and then Mings was back in. That was one of the ones for the suspended Konsa, and I mean we went 1-0 down in the first couple of minutes. Great goal, but poor defending. I thought, Twanzebe lost his man completely for that big hoofed ball forward. Cash turned his back, lost the ball. It hit him in the arse, I think, at one point, and just sat up for Armstrong, who did, finish it very well. But
great finish,
but from that point on, we didn't really look like scoring. We didn't look like getting back into the game. The second half was better. But Tommy, what your thoughts quickly on the game that would turn out to be Smith's last game?
Unfortunate, but full credit to Southampton, point and a clean sheet for them. But I think the Mings tug on the shirt, not even to be looked at by VAR. I mean, that's why it's brought in, and also obvious from one angle. The guy just, had his shirt like half a meter back, and to not even assess that, could change the complexion of the game, might have mounted a comeback. Maybe Smith stays in for another week and we regain a bit of momentum and we go from there. Sometimes one win is all it takes. But, like I said, it was pretty sad, and probably rather that it was at Southampton away than at Villa Park that, we were to announce the news after the game. But, it's just a sad time all around as a Villa fan. Again, 5 losses in a row. We have new management, and it's not a Lambert situation. It's not a Sherwood. It's not a Remy Gard. We have owners with ambition, and they're not afraid to pull the pin, whether that's signing a player of Ings's caliber out of the blue, or pulling the pin on Dean Smith after 5 consecutive losses. That's that. Just a quick digression. I do think I think they were conspiring this maybe 2 weeks ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if a big manager is lined up that we probably wouldn't expect, kind of like the Ings signing, just came out of the blue, and it's a wow, like we did not expect this. So it's funny when we got linked with the likes of Simeone recently, as Noah alluded to earlier pre-call. I wouldn't be surprised if it's maybe someone that we wouldn't even think would want to come to Villa, sitting where we are at the moment. But maybe someone looks at it as a project that, they want to take the helm of a club with great history and just propel us back up the table and look towards next season.
Well, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But Noah, so, I think another trend that sort of came to the front was just starting the game badly again. It's been a recurring theme under these 5 defeats that, well, apart from the Wolves game, that we've gone behind relatively quickly and had a poor first half.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard stats somewhere. I think it was like the 27th minute, the 10th minute, maybe the 30th minute, and then the 3rd minute are our goals we've conceded. And we haven't actually scored a goal first on the road this season as well. Something that we were very good at last season. We started the games very slowly. Didn't really build into it until really the second half. But it really shouldn't have to take Dean Smith to give you a halftime team talk saying, hey, this is fighting for my job here, really to make them play good in the second half. And we really didn't even play that much better for the whole second half. Maybe the first 10, 15 minutes, I think we had a few half chances. Nothing. Their keeper didn't really have to make a proper save all day, in my opinion, like a few straight at him and stuff like that. But as Tommy said, I think that the boys and Smith have known for at least 3 weeks that the pressure's coming. You got to get this right. Because it's very rare. I think the way, especially that we have had the club run, that this just doesn't happen, straight away. Like I think he would have had some notice. It's just, as Tommy said, quite a sad time. But they've got to get this right. They've got to get this next deployment right. It's crucial they get it right. Otherwise, Villa Park can come toxic very quickly, and who knows what happens from here. But big decision coming up for the people in charge.
Yeah, and just rounding out the Southampton game with you, Troy. We saw a bit of a reaction in the second half. We played a bit better, but I think apart from maybe Martinez, Cash, perhaps, like most of the team were poor. I thought some of the body language was poor. It was almost like some of the players had, like you were mentioning in the chat earlier, that he'd lost the dressing room, Smith. Like guys like Bailey weren't even tracking back.
Wow. Let's have a look at Leon Bailey, and let's not call him Lion anymore. Let's just refer to him as Pussy Hole for the rest of the season, shall we? His light is fading quicker than the interior light on Tommy's car, I think. But look, I don't understand the formation that Smith seemed to go out with what looked to me like a 4-4-2 with Buendia up top. Where did that come from? And we've seen at the start of the season, he had what was most definitely a 3-5-2 formation. We were packing the midfield and we were putting pressure on the final third.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely that slipped back to a 5-3-2. Now, when you have a look at that, you've got 4 players at the back, you've got your defensive midfielder, and that leaves your 2 creative midfielders covering that massive area. Buendia isn't the most athletic bloke. He's not the biggest bloke. So when you isolate him, he's got no options to pass to. He's got nowhere to run. He's so easy to get the ball off. It's not going to work. The second half, it all changed. I thought Buendia, Cash, were the best 2 outfield players by a long way. Buendia's done absolutely nothing for me in previous weeks, but I actually felt a little bit of love for the man this week. And maybe there's something special there.
Perhaps his best game. Perhaps
easily.
Yeah. And that's been one of Smith's big quandaries is getting the best out of Buendia. He's moved him around. And I think he was playing in that sort of Jacob Ramsey position, and Ramsey had been very good at pressing, coming from the midfield and joining the forwards to press. But the problem is with Ramsey, he'll get back. He'll get back in once we lose the ball or once the press breaks down, whereas Buendia sort of just stays up there and floats around, and that leaves McGinn and Nakamba, which I think both were quite poor, open and exposed. But all right, well, but we've talked about that. We're down now. I think we're 16th, something like that in the league. We're
low. We're low. Yeah,
we're only 3 points off the bottom three. I know that.
2 points. 2 points, Scotty.
And they're actually picking up points. That's a scary thing.
Yeah, they're all picking up points. Even Norris getting a win on the weekend. So
yeah. So let's talk about where Smith went wrong a bit. I'll go to you first, Tommy, and let's sort of wrap up this chapter of the Villa sort of history, and just say, where do you think it went wrong for Smith in over the last 5 or so weeks?
I'd probably rewind to the start of the season, seeing the exit of Terry. We understand he wanted more managerial experience, but we lost that defensive presence we had. We weren't that fortress. We weren't keeping as many clean sheets already started this season as compared to last season. So I think Terry's departure was critical. And I think the other chap that left, he was involved in the scene.
O'Keefe, yeah.
Yeah. So I think was something going on behind the scenes that maybe we didn't know. Only they know what, Dean Smith and his crew will know. Second of all, I think it's even pre-Wolves games. I mean, that was the catalyst for all of this. But substitutes, and this even goes into last season, he didn't know his best starting 11. You need to know your best starting 11, have a deep squad, at least have good subs. And where we were just chopping and changing players all season this year. And making subs too early, not making subs at all, making subs too late, leaving things too late, changing formations, changing winning formations. And I think he got complacent. I think that 5 in the back really started to cost us. And I think we were basically forcing 2 forwards, and yet we had like the lowest conversion rate up front, but we were still trying to force Ings and Watkins to work where clearly it wasn't. We all noticed that from the outskirts. I think the catalyst was the Wolves game. It was almost like when we lost to Leicester a few seasons ago, and then that kind of spurred their championship run. Yeah. All of a sudden they won the whole lot. I said, and then, the Wolves I'm not saying they're going to win it, but 2-0 up, should have just shut up shop or make a positive sub. Didn't do what he needed to do, left things too late, and then they come back, make a miraculous comeback. And funny that they pushed out of the relegation zone, and we're kind of, creeping towards it, sadly, now 5 games later.
Yep. So Noah, one thing that I hear a lot when I listen to the pundits on Optus Sport and, the BBC and these kind of guys, they all say, well, they lost their best player, they lost Grealish. Do you think it's as easy as that, or do you think that Smith invested the 100 million well? Do you think, where do you think the sort of recruitment or lack of recruitment hurt us this season?
Honestly, I think it's just a scapegoat for the pundits. Villa keep doing badly. Oh, Grealish left.
Yeah.
We could be top of the league and they wouldn't talk about it. Villa's flying high, but because we're failing, Grealish left. That's the big problem. Obviously, I think some parts of the investment went wrong. Obviously, if you look at like who we're linked with, James Ward-Prowse, Romeo, Smith Rowe, we really needed a midfielder. I think we need a defensive midfielder. I think that's where we're quite weak. And obviously, you saw Ward-Prowse and Romeo dominated the midfielder on Friday night. Just to quickly touch on that, but and I don't think we needed to get maybe another striker in. I think if you look, Watkins was injured, so we probably did need him in, but 2 wingers as well. We probably had enough wingers. Obviously, you look back now, it could have been invested better, but if Villa are flying high and we're sitting 7th, everyone's like, how well we invested. So I think it's just a situational thing. And hopefully the next guy can get the best out of everyone, because we know that, especially with Danny Ings, there's goals there. Get the right at Buendia, there's assists there, there's also goals there. So it's just going to be a tough thing now.
Yeah, I think it had to be obvious to Smith and the rest of the coaching staff and the owners that having Nakamba as your backup defensive midfielder, he's not good enough. yes, he does a lot of things that I think, well done. He puts in a lot of work. He runs around. He's everywhere. He's got that about him. But when it comes to getting on the ball, he's terrible. And Louise,
it's not even the canvas, Scott. It's having Louise as your starting defensive midfielder.
Well, that I would say that as well. I don't think Louise should be a backup, if anything, or someone who has someone that's with a bit more authority around him. And yeah, I mean, is John McGinn really a defensive midfielder? No, he's not.
No way.
So that we were crying out for someone in that position, especially with such a young team and with a lot of new guys coming in. We needed someone that could really
a general. We needed a general. Yeah.
And this was the perfect summer to do it. Financial fair play had been relaxed because of COVID. We've got the money. There's options out there. Look at Calvin.
It was Calvin Phillips initially. We were linked with him left, right, and center, and then we stopped all of a sudden. And I'd probably have to say the other attacking player we're forgetting was that Julian Alvarez. When we were on the verge of signing him, and now it's actually scored 15 goals in 16 games.
Yeah, look at
promising young talent.
Anguissa for Napoli now.
Yeah,
they're top of the league, and he's been one of the best players in Serie A. And he comes from Fulham last season, and no one looks at him at all, and says that he could be handy for us, even just as a backup, or just give him a go.
Yep.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of questions there, and okay, I guess we could move on now, Troy, to think about who comes next. What sort of direction do you want to see us go in, Troy? Because there's a lot of talk of they have to have premiership experience, or you want someone who's young and fresh and has different ideas. So which way would you go?
I couldn't care less if they've got premiership experience or not. Quite frankly, yep. I don't care about their age so much, as long as they can come with ideas, as long as they can come with an open mind. And probably most importantly, they're not going to have to be an old-time manager who does things, gets the statistics books and gets the players to take off their little heartbeat bras and isn't interested in it. We need someone who is modern, who will look at the statistics and will analyze the game to within a millimeter of its life, and because that's the way of the future, and that's a fact. Provided we keep bringing on people like set piece coaches, and he can work. So we need someone who's willing to work, and willing to take on new ideas, and willing to look at the stats, and willing to be a little bit flexible. And I think that was Dean Smith's downfall in the end. Is he lost what looked like he was coming up with some new ideas with 3-5-2, 5-3-2. He just lost that flexibility. He was just so rigid, and that was his downfall. So we need someone who can come in and just admit when, okay, that's not working. Let's try something new. This player isn't working on this side. Let's shift him. We've got an unbalanced squad. Let's balance him. It's going to have to be someone who, and probably my only real massive criticism of Smith was a couple of weeks ago. He came out with such bollocks that, his formation was good. The players performed well. We were just unlucky at the day. What a load of horse shit. Don't piss in my pocket and tell me it's raining. And that disappointed me with Smith. If we can get a manager that is a little bit flexible, give him a little bit of time, that has an eye, not for the rest of the season, obviously critically important, that can buy into this project that we've got, and can have ideas that he can build these ideas over the next 3, 4, 5 years, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
Tommy,
sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, which way would you go? Yeah.
Well, I think we need, if we're going to, honestly, with our squad, I think we should be pushing for top 8, if not top 6. If we're pushing for top 6, that means Europe. We need a coach who's been there, who's coached in that league, in Europa or Champions League. We need a big caliber coach. We've got a very good squad on paper. Unfortunately, they're not gelling. I think we've got the cattle. It was just the manager's problem. Lack of preseason games. Well, what you signed, make it work in the season. I would have rather Smith say, well, look, 5-3-2 didn't work this week. I'm going to drop Ings or Watkins and go 4-5-1. I'm going to go 4-4-2 and maybe give Archer a go, because he's been scoring for fun in the under 20s. Mix it up. Ings and Watkins, we've forced it that much. It just stopped working, and it never really got going.
And was Smith afraid to drop one of the strikers?
Absolutely.
Was that the case? He was scared. Well, we need someone who's a manager that says you dropped.
I think it came from Sir Weirus and Eden saying, you bought who you want. It's on you now. So I think Smith was basically trying to force it from day one.
Yeah.
And that when he went to that 5-3-2, all right, like it looked great against United and a few of the big clubs. And I think he got a bit carried away. It's not going to work against some of those, I'd probably say bottom table teams because they're all out attack. They need to score goals to accumulate points. And we're going in with 5 defenders. Ridiculous. Just so I think we need a coach that's been there, done it in the big leagues. I wouldn't be surprised if management, from top level were conspiring behind Smith's back for a week or two. I think this was in the making for a couple of weeks. And I wouldn't be surprised if they've got a candidate list that probably looks different to what everyone's speculating, to be honest. And I really do hope and pray it's a big name manager. I know it sounds ridiculous based on where we are, but we're a club with big ambition. And let's be honest, money talks at the end of the day. And we're like, what, the 5th or 6th richest club in the league?
Yeah. Well, I've said before that out of the candidates that I've seen, I would go for Paulo Fonseca, but just because in his jobs in the past, he has, he's coached in the Champions League and the Europa League, in Serie A with Roma. He's managed a big club, but the main thing was he took projects and made them work. He improved young players. And he's unemployed at the moment, so it wouldn't cost us a big chunk of change to get him out like it would a Steven Gerrard or Hasenhüttl at Southampton, something like that. I think he's one of these sort of new school managers that plays attacking football, but has a game plan and has a flexible game plan, as we talked about before. So I would like to see him, but I doubt they're going to go that way.
Maybe Nuno again. Like I know he recently got let go from Spurs, but it'll probably be, it's not easy saying we're going to go after a manager that's currently unemployed. That doesn't look good either. But I'd love to see us playing some attacking flair football. We signed a bunch of attackers, so that's what we need to do. Yeah. So I want attacking football, whatever lineup that is. Just as long as we're keeping the ball in their half, not ours, we're looking good.
And Scotty, you mentioned youth coming. Sorry, mate. You mentioned youth coming through, and I think the owners have really, put everything behind developing youth. We've seen in the last couple of months, we're just hoovering them up from absolutely everywhere. There wouldn't be any point in bringing on a manager. Noah's smiling. I have a feeling he was going to say this himself. There's no point in bringing on a manager who's got no interest in playing the kids, who just wants experienced players. So, Noah, sorry, mate.
That's all right. That's all right. I was going to say, I think it's the Southampton. We had, was it 5 youth players on the bench? 5 or 6 maybe youth players on the bench. And that's pretty impressive. Yes, we have a lot of injuries, but I mean, if that's not, good for our youth system in general, to see managers, we're promoting our youth and that's something I like to do. It's going to be attractive. We've got great talent coming through, both the Ramseys on the bench, Carney on the bench, was Philogene Badace on the bench as well, maybe. Yep. There's a lot of players coming through there and it's just incredible system. And look, whoever the manager is, whoever we end up getting in, it could be Remy Gard again, whoever it is, I'm going to obviously back him in, while they're a Villa manager. I'm just going to back him in. And all I know is the owners are going to have to go into their pockets again in January to let this manager get who he wants. So,
I think it needs to be a statement. It needs to be a statement manager. And I wouldn't, best thing is I wouldn't be surprised with this management as opposed to anyone. Well, Lerner was just a prick, but these guys, anything is possible. And that's the one thing I'd probably say you could be excited for as a Villa fan. Yes.
I think that might have been part of the problem with Smith losing his job, is that he wasn't playing those kids as much as we hoped. We had Anwar come in for the Southampton game on the left.
Who?
Anwar Al Ghazi.
No.
Right? Yeah, but exactly, why wouldn't you give Philogene Badace a go there?
Yeah. Fear. Fear of losing his job. That's all that came down to. Outright fear.
Yeah. I know.
And it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Like Archer scoring for fun, scored against Chelsea in the cup game. He should have been starting the next game because Ings and Watkins wasn't working. And again, it would have taken balls, but if Archer scores 2 and we win 2-0, 2-1, whatever, draw 2-2 and he scores 2, that's a statement. You keep your spot the next game, lad. And he's a Villa boy. We're all going to support him. Probably we're all going to support the youth products more than anyone else. Let's be honest.
Why was it so hard for Smith to pick one of the strikers, but then randomly drop Tyrone Mings? You know what I mean? Why was it so difficult maybe because one of them was injured, I guess, but to randomly come out and drop your captain,
Racism, Noah.
And the statement didn't work, like that statement didn't help at all.
Yeah.
And it probably, I don't know if it ultimately really hurt us in that West Ham game. I think we're pretty poor, but he definitely did not get the reaction he was hoping for.
No.
And the red card doesn't help, but we played shocking until the red card came.
Hammers are probably the scariest team in the Prem right now.
They are looking very good.
I would not be like, could it be a Cinderella story? I don't really see anyone stopping them. Like, they are elite all over the park.
Well, they're very good. Stopping them for what? The top four or the league?
They're 3 points off first, Scott. And to be honest, probably. Well, I mean, they ended Liverpool's streak with ease.
Yeah. No, I mean, they are a good team.
They've actually built on last season, which was an incredible campaign. We were on par with West Ham until Grealish got injured. Let's be honest. And then, they pushed for the top 6 and we just struggled.
That's right. And back then, no one would have thought Moyes was an exciting manager to bring in. And look what he's done. So
I heard there's links with him have gone back to United. Like, will he take it? I don't know if he wants to, potentially destroy his reputation again.
I heard Brendan Rodgers, to be honest. I think he'll stay there.
Rodgers was Man City, I think he was holding out for. That's why he turned down the Newcastle job. But again, same thing I've heard from Leicester fans. They say Rodgers doesn't have a plan B.
Yeah.
And I found that there's almost similar synergies between him and Smith. Great attacking football. Like, we know Smith was trying to build something. Now, also, he's been at Villa Park for quite a while to build something. I understand it's a process, build on each year. But I think when we lost Jack, it really opened up how vulnerable we were and how over-reliant we were. That's one thing we don't have this season. Who the fuck do we give the ball to? And that's something I'm taking that out of Troy's book. Who says, I want the ball, let me go to work? We don't have that.
No one wants it. No
one wants it. And I don't care if we're over-relying on Jack. Let him draw 2-3 players. Let him get fouled. That frees up other players. And he was a team player.
If you think about his position on the left wing, Jack, he had Target behind him, Ollie Watkins next to him. And who are the two guys that have underperformed most this season? Probably them too, because they don't have their mate next to them anymore, who used to provide them with all the passes and in Target's case give the other fullback or the other the right winger something to worry about. So it's all sort of interconnected, and it's a snowballing thing. And
his defense as well. Jack tracked back so much. You see him doing full board sprints to help out Target. I mean, no criticism to Bailey, but they don't track back. Him, Buendia, full credit to Ramsey. When he's attacking, at least we know he's sprinting back to do his part as a DM.
And Danny Ings tracks back.
Danny Ings as well. Danny Ings tracking back, good on him. I said, we've got some players that really hustle. I said, if only we had a team full of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're sort of coming to an end. We probably should wrap it up. I just want to go around you all, and I want you to give me one name. If in a week's time when we come back, there's a manager of Villa, who would you want it to be? Tommy?
Are we being realistic or unrealistic? And does this have to be based off speculation?
Look, anyone.
I'll look realistically, Graham Potter.
Graham Potter? Yep. What about you, Troy?
I have no idea. I mean, you guys were talking about Simeone and my eyes bugged out.
I was thinking that. I was going to say that.
Like a pug, but is that realistic? I think the managers, I think the owners would have to throw Grealish kind of money at him to come and present a hell of a plan. But let's go Diego Simeone, please.
Okay. Ooh. And Noah?
Honestly, I think AVB.
I was about to say like Villa Boas, like Arsene Wenger, Arsenal. I've heard good things.
I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah,
as well.
So I wouldn't mind AVB. Will it happen? Probably not. I honestly, realistically think we're going to get Steven Gerrard. Obviously with the Perslow links with him at Liverpool and stuff like that. So I honestly think that it'll be Gerrard, but I would like AVB in my opinion. Yeah.
And Scotty
could be a
was
bombshell,
saying,
Noah. I said it could be a bombshell, and I would not put it past our owners. If it could be someone we haven't even mentioned, then it's a wow.
Yeah. Scotty was saying off air he was hoping for Lampard, so takes all sorts. I guess.
Definitely not. No, I want someone with experience. I want Fonseca. If not him, maybe Hasselhoulton or
You really rated? You rate him that well?
Well, look what he's doing with Southampton. Like they absolutely destroyed us.
Yeah,
and they don't have the same money as we do. I mean, I think he's got something. He comes from that that same group of coaches like Klopp and Tuchel were all influenced by Ragnarok, this guy who was coach of I think Leipzig, but he's been like a football director, but he comes from that same sort of German school as Tuchel, Klopp. You know, he kind of came up with the same philosophy as those guys. So I wouldn't be totally upset if it was him. I think he could be good.
I just think that it'd be someone that's not at a club at the moment, to be honest, or someone that's not in the Prem. I think it's someone they've spoken to and said, look, we're thinking about moving on. Because they're not going to. I think they want to get him in as soon as possible. I think there'll be announced in the next couple of days.
I think they've pitched the direction, and I think anyone who's looked at Villa, they know where we want to go. They know what we spent. They know there's money available, and probably a war chest. Maybe not in Jan. At least if they can keep us afloat, there'll be a war chest available next season.
I hope they go for it in January. I think we have to.
Oh,
just with a mention of Gerrard, you guys, we're talking about him earlier. Perslow, I don't think he has a particularly good relationship, and everything is going to have to come through him. That's why I can't see Gerrard happening.
Yeah, I can't really see him leaving Rangers yet either.
I think he needs to prove himself, and again, it'd be purely stepping stone for the Liverpool role.
Yeah. I think him, Lampard, or Terry would be a mistake, just because are they better managers than Dean Smith? We don't know yet. We need someone who has more experience and
agreed.
Top quality sort of results for someone in Europe, like a big club. So we'll have to wait and see. But let us know what you guys think of Smith in the comments. Well, that's going to be our question this week. It's more of an open question, just to leave us some. How did you think Smith went? What are your lasting memories? What do you want to say to him? Because I'm sure he watches the podcast. He's a big fan.
He'll be on next week. He's out of a job.
That's it. We could get him in for sure. Maybe he can do it from his car like Tommy.
Why not? Why not?
All right. Well, but it's always good to talk Villa. It's going to be a new chapter, and yeah, we'll probably do another video before the next game, because there might be a new managerial appointment, and we've got some quizzes and some other things lined up. So yeah, look out for them. Up the Villa, and we will see you all next week. So goodbye, Smith. Smith out. See you later, boys.
Yeah.
Up the Villa. See ya.